Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Capsa. Today's topic is regulation of respiration, okay, or how the respiration process is regulated. So, it is actually controlled by two type of mechanism. First one is neural and second one is chemical control, neural control, chemical control. Now, to maintain the normal level of O2 and CO2, regulation of respiration actually occurs, and it depends on the respiratory controller system that are located in the medulla and pons of your brainstem. Sorry. Okay. Now, so we can say that respiration regulation is actually controlled by three basic elements. Okay. So first one is central controller, and the second one is respiratory muscles which are involved, and third one is sensors. Central controller actually responsible for chemical control. Respiratory muscles are operated by this chemical controller, and sensors are responsible for chemical control. Okay, and these sensors actually kind of receptors which are again subdivided into two categories. Okay, first one is mechanoreceptor and second one is chemoreceptors. We will see later step by step. So it is responsible for neural control, chemical controller, and second one is your respiratory muscles. Third one is the sensors. Now the central controller actually responsible for normal breathing, which is automatic and periodic in nature, and controlled and triggered by the respiratory centers which are located in the pons and medulla. We have learned. And this center actually categorized into two categories. First center is medullary center, second center is pontine center. Medullary center is subdivided into two categories: dorsal medullary respiratory neurons, groups or centers, and ventral medullary respiratory, you can say neuron, you can say group, or you can say centers. Okay. So medullary centers are of two types. First one is dorsal medullary respiratory centers or neurons or groups. Okay, and this center actually associated with the inspiration process, or it is responsible for the inspiration process, and this neuron exhibits a cycle of activity that can establish the basic rhythm of respiration process. So we can write like it can controls the inspiration process, and that's why we can say that it is known as inspiratory center. Okay, and it can establish a basic rhythm of respiration. Second one is that is the ventral medullary respiratory neurons or groups or centers. Okay, so ventral medullary respiratory neurons that are actually that controls the expiration process or associated with the expiration process. That's why they are known as expiratory centers. And you should keep in mind that these dorsal and ventral groups are bilaterally paired. Okay, and there is a cross communication between them. So they behave in synchrony and respiratory movements are symmetric in nature. So ventral medullary respiratory centers actually controls the expiration process, and that's why they are known as expiratory centers. Okay. Now we will see what are the Pontine center. Okay, what are the type of Pontine centers or which centers are present in pons part. So first center is Apneustic center and second center is Pneumotaxic center. Okay, so Apneustic center actually present in the lower part of the pons and Pneumotaxic center present in the upper part of the pons. Okay, so Pontine centers are classified into two categories. First one is Apneustic center. And this apneustic word comes from apneusis, okay, which means breathing. And apneustic center actually located in the lower part of the pons, and it can promote the inspiration process, or it is responsible for the promotion of the inspiration process. And you should keep in mind that stimulation of these centers lead to a gradual increase or step-by-step increase in the firing rate of the inspiratory muscles. Okay, but overstimulation can causes abnormal breathing pattern. Clear to you? Now the second one is pneumotaxic center. Okay, this pneumotaxic center actually present in the upper part of the pons, and they have an inhibitory effect on both inspiratory center and also in the apneustic center. That's why they are responsible for the termination of inspiration process by inhibiting the activity of the dorsal medullary neurons. Okay, so pneumotaxic center is present in the upper part of the pons, and it can terminate the inspiration process. Of inspiration process. And how they inhibit the inspiration process? They actually inhibit the activity of dorsal medullary neurons. And as because these dorsal medullary neurons or centers it can control the inspiration process. If we inhibit the dorsal medullary neurons, obviously the inspiration process will be terminated. So they inhibit the activity of the dorsal medullary neurons, which is responsible for the inspiration process, and thus they terminate the inspiration process. Okay, now the respiratory muscles. What are the respiratory muscles involved? First one is diaphragm and second one is intercostal muscles. Okay, other accessory muscles are also present, but these two are very much important. Intercostal muscles. The activity of diaphragm actually controlled by an important nerve, that is phrenic nerve, and activity of intercostal muscle which controlled by intercostal nerve. You should keep in mind. Okay, these two nerves are very much important. Clear to you? Now we will see what are the sensors, okay, which is responsible for your chemical type of control of regulation of respiration. Okay, so sensors are actually two types. First one is, I have told, mechanoreceptor, and second one is chemoreceptors. Mechanoreceptors are present in the walls of bronchi and bronchioles. Okay, I have told what is bronchi, what is bronchioles. You need to see the video of mechanism of respiration, then you can understand. So these are present in the walls of bronchi and bronchioles, and the function of these receptors is to prevent the overinflation of the lungs. Overinflation means nothing, just when you breathing the oxygen, the lungs become bigger than its normal size. That process is known as inflation. If there is more in oversize, that will be problematic. So it is prevent for the overinflation of the lungs. Okay. Now we will see how the inflation process occur, or how the inflation occurs. Okay. So when you breathing the oxygen, okay, what happens? The inflation of the lungs occur. After inflation of the lungs, what happens? The mechanoreceptors get activated. Okay, so O2 breathed in, then inflation of the lungs, or lungs get inflated. Inflated means bigger in size. Okay, then mechanoreceptors get activated. I will use the asterisk for the mechanoreceptor activation. You need to write the full sentence during your exam. Okay, after activation of the mechanoreceptors, what happens? It activates the stress receptors. Okay, or it means the activity of stress receptors increases. After increasing the activity of stress receptor, what it causes? It actually decreases the activity of inspiratory center. Okay, inspiratory center means it decreases the activity of dorsal medullary centers. Okay, inspiratory centers or IC. After inhibition of inspiratory center, termination of inspiration process occur. After the termination, what happens? Obviously, expiration process will be start, and after the starting of expiration process, again the activity of stress receptors decreases. Okay, when the activity of stress receptor decreases, it causes obviously the increase in the activity of the IC or the inspiratory center. So, activity of stress receptors decreases or ceases. After decreasing the activity of stress receptors, activity of IC obviously increases, or inspiratory center increases. Increase in the activity of inspiratory center occurs. Okay, then again the inspiration process started. So this whole reflex is known as Hering-Breuer reflex, which is very much important for the children. Hering-Breuer, Breuer. Okay, Hering-Breuer reflex, which is very much important for the children. Now we will see what are the mechanoreceptors involved. Okay, sorry, chemoreceptors are involved. So chemoreceptors are actually specialized kind of neurons and activated when the O2 and CO2 level gets changes. Okay, so mechanoreceptors are of three types: peripheral chemoreceptors, carotid body chemoreceptors, and central chemoreceptors. Peripheral chemoreceptors are actually present in the carotid artery, which is present in your neck, and the aortic arch. Aortic arch means the bending of the aortic artery, okay, or aorta. And it is O2 sensitive. So peripheral chemoreceptors are present in the carotid artery and aortic arch. Bending of aorta is known as aortic arch, okay, which is O2 sensitive. And the second one is carotid body chemoreceptors, okay. This type of carotid body chemoreceptors actually connect the medulla with this receptor, means peripheral chemoreceptor or PC, via the glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay, so carotid body chemoreceptors are responsible for PC or peripheral chemoreceptors and the medulla connection. So they made a connection between peripheral chemoreceptor and medulla via the nerve glossopharyngeal. Clear to you? The next chemoreceptor is central chemoreceptor. Okay, central chemoreceptors, which are present in the cerebrospinal fluid and your medulla oblongata. Okay, now we will see a diagram which will represent the dorsal respiratory group and ventral respiratory group. Okay, So let's draw a picture. This part is known as pons, and this is your medulla, and this is spinal cord, medulla or medulla oblongata. Okay, this is your these two are bilaterally present, and they have a cross communication between them. Okay, this is your communication. And this part is known as Pontine center, which is consist of Apneustic center and Pneumotaxic center. Okay, and this part is known as dorsal respiratory medullary neurons, or you can write like groups or centers. Okay, clear? And these two are known as ventral respiratory medullary neurons or groups or centers. Okay, okay. You need to keep in mind that the smaller one is known as nucleus ambiguous. Okay, and the larger one is known as nucleus retroambigualis. Okay, these two are the part of ventral respiratory medullary center. Okay, so this is the end of my lecture. If you like my video, please do like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for your attention.